Namaste, everybody. I hope you can see my screen here.
Namaste. Vista
Namaste.
screen. Yeah, we can
Okay,
see
great.
the screen. Yeah,
Wonderful. I'm going to
thank you.
mute everybody now and then we'll start the program.
So I just
So I just muted everybody. Uh, Shrikant Dada, if you want to say a couple of words, you'll have to unmute yourself, and if you can say something, that will be great.
want to thank Vikram for these wonderful sessions. His everything that he says is his own experience, and so that makes it really very unique and more real. So with all that, just enjoy the presentation by Vikram. Thank you, Vikram, very much.
Great. Thank you, Shrikant Dada, for inviting me once again. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to all of you. I'm going to try to focus on the screen I'm sharing with you and then share some of my experience while we share the slides. So you should be able to see mind purification through diet purification leading to self-realization. Ultimately, we do everything we do in our life to be happy, isn't it? Before I start my presentations, I always like to show a disclaimer saying the information I present is only for your information and not any medical advice. It's not substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, or medical treatment of a qualified physician or healthcare provider. This is only your information or information I'm providing to you based on my experience. So I don't want to take any liability for any unsupervised use of this information. You should always consult with your family doctor, family physician, or at least talk to me before you undertake any adventure. So why do we do all this? This is the outline of my talk. I'll try to speak for no more than half an hour. Hopefully this will be done in about half an hour. Why do all this? Then I'll talk about yoga because this is a yoga platform, right? Shri Yoga. So we need to do everything based on this perspective. Okay. We'll talk about what is optimum health, then cooked and natural food, food transformation and toxicity, gut microbes, benefits of natural food, don'ts and do's, real life experiences, environmental and social impact, and then some concluding remarks. So we'll try to go through these slides rather quickly. And wherever there is a need for me to explain some concepts, I will do that. So therefore, why do we do all this? We do everything we do in our life. We've spoken about this before, either pravrutti or nivrutti. We try to obtain something or we try to get rid of something. We do this to seek happiness. Unfortunately, most of us are satisfied with a diluted version, which is temporary pleasures. A pleasure that begins at time t equal to t1 and ends at time t equal to t2. That's what unfortunately we are all used to doing, and that's what we are always pursuing. But once we are dissatisfied with these, once we understand whatever starts in time, ends in time, cannot give us permanent happiness, then we will look for something higher. We want to be happy at all times, infinitely happy and indefinitely happy. So we don't want any limitation of time and space on our happiness. The good news is this bliss, this unlimited eternal bliss is within us. And in fact, that is our essential nature. Unfortunately, we have forgotten that. And that's why we are looking for what we already have, but we are looking for it outside of us. When we stop that pursuit, when we go inside, when we look inwards, that is when we realize that this eternal bliss has always been our essential nature. So this gets unfolded through regulated lifestyle aligned with natural law. Okay. Now somebody has sent a chat asking if I'm audible, and luckily somebody has already replied that I am audible. So we are all good. So whoever is not able to hear me, they might want to log out and log back in or connect their audio through internet rather than through their phone. Then you will be able to hear. All right. So the next slide is what is yoga? In a yoga class, I don't really need to talk about all the different things about yoga, but the first verse Actually, this is the second verse. The first word, Patanjali Muni says, Atha Yoganushasanam. Atha means and now. Yoga Anushasanam. And now means what? Until now, you've gone all over the world and you've been beaten and bruised. And now yoga. After you've यानी धक्के खाकर आए और फिर अभी योगा करने को आए, ऐसा है. So therefore now what? Yoga Anushasanam. Yoga actually means union in one way. In another way, yoga means a tool or a method. So yoga can be understood at in both ways. The second verse, Patanjali Muni says, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which means you remove the fluctuations of your mind. So in yoga, what do? I'll go through the next slide. I'll talk about the different aspects of yoga. But why do we do this Chitta Vritti Nirodha? Why do we want to remove fluctuations of the mind? Because in the still mind, tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Tada means then, at that time, or at the time of concentration and meditation. Drashtu means the seers or the person who is witnessing, or the true self, our own self. Swarupe means in its own nature. Avasthanam means rests or abides. So when fluctuations of the mind calm down, then we rest in our own essential nature. That is what happens. So that is the goal of yoga, not doing impossible asanas at all. Okay. So don't try to imitate this Padmasana you are seeing in this picture. If you are not able to do it, it's okay. You sit on the chair and you will still be able to realize who you are. Okay. Asanas are not compulsory or sacrosanct. What are the 8 limbs of yoga? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. These are the 8 different limbs of yoga. We've gone through these in one of the previous webinars. Yama means what not to do, or how can I protect myself from the world and how will I not be a problem for the world. So Yama basically deals with our relationship with the world around us. Okay. So we are not bothering the world and the world is not bothering us. That is what is achieved through Yama. Niyama is we should not be a problem for our own selves. So what are the disciplines we should undertake in our own life? Asana means to sit comfortably. That's all Patanjali Muni says in the 190 some aphorisms or sutras. Asana has only 2 or 1.5 dedicated to the practice of asana. Asana means sthira sukham asanam, which means our asana, or the place where we are steady, has steady happiness. Sthira sukham, not sthira asanam. Asanam can be, if you are sukhi, then your asana will be sthira. That's not a problem. So asana means where are we seated? What is our fundamental basis? What is our adhar? That is asana. Then pranayama is control over life energies. Pratyahara is anti-ahar. Ahara means what we consume, and pratyahara means how we should control that. Dharana means direction. Normally our direction is outwards because our sense organs are looking outwards in the world, whereas we need to look inwards. So we need to change that dharana. And dhyana means concentration on one particular object. Okay. Most of the people will concentrate on their breath, or they will concentrate on a certain point, or in a trataka, they can concentrate on a little flame, things like that. And then samadhi. Samadhi is basically being completely steady and in equilibrium. Okay. So a sense of being at ease is called samadhi. We are going to focus in this presentation on the 5th limb of the yoga practice, which is withdrawal of sense organs from sense objects, which is pratyahara. What are we doing presently or normally? Normally, we are trying to look at sense objects, trying to obtain those sense objects, and trying to make sure that there is a union of the sense object and the sense organ. That is when pleasure happens. But in this practice of pratyahara, we are going to focus on how to stay away from that, or how to indulge in it, not indulge, but how to make sure that we do it only to the extent it is necessary. There is no indulgence at all. Okay, it doesn't mean that there will be no pleasure, So for example, when I'm hungry and when I eat my food, the food will taste very good to me, isn't it? The trick is to be able to consume only as much food as necessary and then wait until we get hungry again. So that is called pratyahara. So how do we achieve optimum health? The shlok in Gita I really love and I always quote is yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha, which means those who are temperate in eating and recreation, balanced in work, and regulated in sleep, they can mitigate all sorrows by practicing yoga. So this is the 17th verse of the 6th chapter. The entire 6th chapter is dedicated to Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Okay, because we want to make sure that our mind is disciplined. It doesn't matter what we are undertaking. If we are undertaking any worldly activity, even then the mind has to be focused and disciplined, right? Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve what we are wanting to achieve in the world. Especially true with spiritual practice. In spiritual practice, our mind has to be absolutely disciplined and it has to be extremely focused. Only then we will achieve what we are wanting to achieve. Okay. Normally, what do? We eat a lot of cooked food. So this is a phenomenal thali. I'm sure if you go to a fancy Indian restaurant, you can get a thali of this kind. All right. The thing is, only human beings are cooking their food. Other than human beings, no creatures will cook their food. Okay. Now, you see, cooking will enhance the flavor and some foods will become more digestible. About that, there is no doubt. But it will decrease the nutritional and energy value of the food. That is going to happen. Okay. Therefore, what will happen? Our requirement for energy and nutrition is determined by the amount of work we undertake or the age we are in and things like that. The trouble is to fulfill that requirement, you will end up eating more quantity of cooked food than natural food. That is what happens. What is natural food? Natural food is what is produced through photosynthesis, what is naturally available, which is seasonal ripe fruits and seeds. But the seeds may or may not be eaten raw as they are, so you may soak them. I normally soak almonds, walnuts, and peanuts overnight, and then next day I eat them for breakfast or my lunch. Normally, I don't eat any dinner at all. I eat only twice a day. So I end up eating a breakfast which I just finished about 9:30 or so in the morning. And then I'll eat lunch around say 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And then after that, there will be no dinner. The third thing we eat is vegetables, which we can eat without cooking. I'm not expecting people to go and eat an eggplant or a karela or something without cooking. Please don't. Only those vegetables that can be eaten without cooking, those are included here. All right. And then sprouted grains and lentils. So whatever you feel like eating out of these four things, these are all called natural food. Okay. All of these things contain enzymes. Every biological cell contains enzymes necessary to auto digest itself. Okay. So when we eat natural food, then the enzymes necessary for digesting that food come with the food itself. Therefore, the process is very energy efficient. We are not putting any excess energy into the whole process. And once you get used to this kind of food, then this food is very juicy, tasty, and full of life energy. We feel very good from within once we start eating a lot of natural food as a part of our diet. You don't have to become 100% raw, but even if you eat 50% raw, you will feel much, much better than you are eating right now. Okay. Now, how does this food get transformed into the body? According to Ayurveda, there are 7 different dhatus or fundamental elements of construction of the body. Okay. So food gets converted into rasa, rakta, mamsa, meda, asthi, majja, shukra. Rasa means the material that gets created from food before it gets converted into the rakta or blood. Okay, so let's say plasma. So that will get converted into blood. After that, food also gets converted into mamsa, which is the muscle. Then it gets converted into meda, which is the fat tissue. Then it gets converted into asthi, which is the bone tissue, the actual solid material of the body. And the next one is majja, which is the bone marrow or the neurological tissues. Okay. And then the final one is the reproductive tissue, which is the shukra. All right. So all of these transformations are possible within the body because of the principle of Agni or fire principle within the body. So unless there is fire within the body, all of these transformations are not possible. The major fire is in our belly. You know, in English, they say fire in the belly. In Sanskrit, it is called Jatharagni. Jatharagni or Vaishvanara. Those are the two terms used for digestive fire, which is common in all creatures. Okay. After all of these transformations are done, whatever is left over, the subtlest portion of the food gets converted into what is called the ojas. Ojas is not written or not shown on this picture, but ojas is something I have written at the end of this list. Ojas is the brilliance or the sense of glow or the sense of confidence within a person, which comes when all of these transformations are happening properly. Okay, this is how food gets converted into all the way to ojas, which is a subtle element that is what constitutes our mind. All right. So that's how diet purification will lead to mind purification. Now, if this process does not happen properly, then what happens? Then there is toxicity, which is the buildup of unwanted matter, which happens because of improper food habits. We are eating when we are not hungry. We are eating wrong kinds of food. We are eating at the wrong time. Improper lifestyle, inefficient digestion. Therefore, there is residual undigested material. That undigested material, even if you eat the best kind of food when you are not hungry, then the food will result in undigested material or unwanted material, and that material will generate or will provide the food for antagonistic gut microbiota. Okay. So if we eat the food and we digest it completely, then whatever is left over will be consumed by those microbes in our gut. Our gut is full of microbes. We have been living with them since day one. Okay. So these gut microbes basically evolve with us and grow with us, and we maintain them in our gut until the very end of our life. They survive us. Once a human being or any animal dies, then the gut microbes, well, in case of mammals, they will start degrading the rest of the body. Okay. When we digest our food completely, then we will not grow any microbes that are antagonistic towards us. When we have food left over, which we should have digested, then on that food, gut microbes will grow. They will be antagonistic towards us because we are competing for the same food. This will cause inflammation because our body will think of them as enemies and our immune response will be triggered. That is why inflammation will happen. It is inevitable. Okay. Now we understood what is toxicity. So how do we do detoxification? We remove the unwanted matter. How do we do that? Proper food habits, proper lifestyle. So exactly opposite of what we just saw earlier. Efficient digestion, no residual undigested material, then friendly microbial population will grow because they will be eating only our leftovers. So there will be no competition between us and them. We will live symbiotically with them. And therefore our body's immune response will not be triggered. So there will be no inflammation. That is exactly how the body gets detoxified when we improve our diet, when we purify our diet, and when we undertake a proper lifestyle. If we eat only when we are hungry, then our digestion is efficient. And if we wait until we get really hungry for the next meal, then there is no residual undigested material in our body. That is why intermittent fasting is crucial, crucial, crucial. All right. Now, let me tell you some fundamental information about gut microbes. They are estimated to be anywhere between 1 to 1 to 10 to 1. All right. So we are outnumbered within our body by microbes up to a proportion of 10 to 1. So therefore, whatever we are thinking as ourselves as or as our body, we are not that at all. If we take a vote of one cell, one vote in a democracy, then we will be outvoted, outnumbered most of the time, unless you know how to control the microbial population in your body. Okay. So the human cells are anywhere between 10 and 40 trillion, but microbial cells are anywhere between 10 and 100 trillion. So just imagine. These gut microbes consume and process a significant fraction of what we eat. Okay, because we cannot digest everything we eat. So we have to make sure that we maintain a symbiotic gut microbiome. All right. Intermittent fasting allows assimilation of our food for our own use, and gut microbes will survive on our leftovers. So this is the kind of gut microbiome we have to maintain. Now, when we eat before digesting previous meal, we perpetuate antagonistic microbes because they will be eating the same kind of food we are supposed to eat. If we eat before we digest the previous meal, then what will happen? The previous meal will get pushed down in our gut, isn't it? So in that batch, there is enough food available that we should have consumed, but we did not. So then the microbes that eat that food, our body will start considering them as enemies, isn't it? Therefore, our immune system will get activated. There will be perpetual inflammation, and this will lead to all kinds of lifestyle diseases. So inflammation is the root cause of all lifestyle diseases. About that, doctors will agree. Very few are genetically triggered. See, what genetics will do is genetics will determine what kind of disease I will get. But whether I will get disease or not, that is entirely in my hands, isn't it? So if we make sure, or if I make sure that I'm eating only when I'm hungry, then inflammation doesn't happen at all. That has been my experience, personal first-hand experience. So microbes consuming our leftovers are symbiotic and create a protective environment within us. Now what will happen? See, we have a whole microbial population that is friendly towards us. Now in this raw food or in natural food, we end up eating some pathogen. That pathogen will have to fight these symbiotic microbes before the pathogen will reach the intestinal wall. You see what I'm saying? So these friendly microbes actually kill the pathogens. So to the person who has created and maintained a friendly gut microbial population, for them, pathogens don't bother them at all. Okay. So this has been proven in my experience also. In the last 2 or 3 years, I have not even had a cold. Okay. In spite of the weather changes, there is extreme cold outside or extreme heat outside, it doesn't matter at all. The body is capable of maintaining a sense of ease and equilibrium at all times. So if we maintain a proper lifestyle, if we purify our diet, then we maintain a healthy gut microbiome. The inflammation is reduced. Mucus levels are reduced. Okay. So when you are doing yoga practice and pranayama, if the mucus level is low, then just see how good the pranayama feels. All right. Allergies are reduced. Body flexibility is phenomenal. I'm going to show you some pictures. You've seen Shrikant Dada also. He is so flexible at his age. Our oral hygiene is improved. So our mouth feels very clean at all times. So when you get up in the morning, you don't feel bad or you don't have to even brush your teeth. I mean, I'll brush anyway, but don't have to. Okay. Before going to bed, you should brush your teeth and do your flossing and all that before you go to bed. But in the morning, you may not feel like, or you may not have to. You may feel like, but you may not have to. Okay. Because the teeth are still very clear, very clean. What you do is you take warm water, keep that water in your mouth, and you gargle it and you drink it. Don't throw it away. Because during the night, all the oral bacteria or the saliva that we have secreted within the mouth, if that goes into our gut, that helps with the digestion of the food we are going to eat later in the day. So those are the advantages. All right. We get a clear and glowing skin. The body odor is reduced, so we don't have to use any deodorants at all. Diseases are reversed. In my case, I had chronic, what is called irritable bowel syndrome. That went away. I had some skin allergies. They went away. Body weight and BMI are normalized. Blood sugar is normalized. My blood sugar fluctuates between 70 and 100. It never goes beyond 100. It never goes below 70 all times. Okay, whether I'm eating food or not eating food. Blood cholesterol is normal. It is less than 150. Blood pressure is normal. It is somewhere between 70 at the lower end and about 100 to 110 in the upper end. That's how the blood pressure has been fluctuating as far as I'm concerned. So between 70 and 80 on the lower end, and between 100 and 110 in the upper end. So that's how it has been. Heart rate has been low. Normally heart rate is say 70, 72. Mine is usually around 60 or less, which is very good. So the body is functioning at a state of ease. That is what it means. Sickness is very rare. Recovery is very quick, and immunity is improved greatly. All right. Now there are some practical advantages of eating natural food also. The food requirement is lower, so therefore the waste generation is also lower. Sleep quantity goes down, but the quality is much better. So even in 6 hours of very deep sleep, you feel much more rested and rejuvenated. So normally I go to bed around 10:30 or so, and I wake up naturally before the alarm. My alarm is set for 5:30, but I usually get up before 5. So anywhere between 6 and 6.5 hours of sleep is more than sufficient at my age with my kind of lifestyle. Okay. Some people are able to go even with lesser amount of sleep than that, which is okay. The more sleep we require means our body has more lethargy. We are not here on this planet to while our time away in sleeping. We are here to learn about who we are. So if our sleep quantity is reduced but quality is higher, you get the same amount of rest, but you get more hours in the day to work. All right. So productivity is higher. In my case, I travel internationally, so the jet lag is minimal, if at all. Time is saved because you don't have to cook, and fuel is also saved because you don't have to cook. Cooking skills are not necessary. So if you don't know how to cook, that's completely okay. Just eat your fruits, eat your veggies, eat your soaked nuts. That's fine. And then I'm not afraid to go to anybody's house because they don't have to cook for me. They are not afraid to call me because they don't have to cook for me. That is great, isn't it? So socially also it is beneficial. Now let's look at some don'ts and do's. All right. So if you want a takeaway from this talk, the takeaway will be like this. Don't make sudden changes in diet. Number one, don't eat unless hungry and don't drink unless thirsty. Most adults don't require more than 2 meals a day, okay, who are on a sedentary lifestyle. Don't eat past the first burp. That is another rule we miss. We keep on eating and eating and eating. We remember when to start the meal, but we forget totally when to stop the meal. When to stop the meal? At the first burp, or even before that is okay. So therefore you leave 50% food for space for food, and remainder 50% space in the stomach for digestive juices and air. That is when the food gets ground and mixed properly in the stomach, and then it goes down our gut where all the nutrition is absorbed. Okay, don't eat snacks between meals. Avoid stimulants like coffee, tea, intoxicants like alcohol, drugs, refined sugar, refined flour, refined anything, and any animal derived products. If we can live like this, if we observe these don'ts in our life and then observe these do's. Do's is natural food, local and seasonal. We should eat as much of it as possible. If we can eat 100%, that's great. If not, at least 50% would be wonderful. The food that we cook, it should be simple. Local grains or beans cooked from scratch. You cook it yourself. Don't buy anything pre-cooked from the store and microwave in the house. Okay. And then eat within an hour of cooking. That is what we need to do. Meals should be had during sunlight hours because sunlight and our digestive fire correspond with each other. So if we eat our biggest meal between 10 and 2, and then another lighter meal either before or after, depending upon when we get hungry. So you just go by your own body clock, biological clock. There is no set rule for that. Okay. Depending upon your lifestyle, depending upon when you go to bed, when you get up, what kind of work you do, you may feel hungry at different times. So eat at that time. Then fast overnight for at least 16 hours. So if you're eating lunch and dinner, then say if you eat your dinner between 7 and 8, then you will not eat until 12 the next morning. Okay. So then you will have eaten within an 8-hour window and you will have given 16 plus hours of rest to your body for digesting everything you've eaten. Maintain a regular routine of work, exercise, meal times, and recreation. and of course rest. Sleep before 10 p.m. If you can do that, would be great. So I try to go to bed by 10 o'clock and I'll fall asleep between 10 and 10:30. And then naturally I'll wake up between 4:30 and 5. Do regular exercise, stretches. I do Surya Namaskar, which is a beautiful exercise for the entire body. Play any sport or hobby. If you don't want to do yoga, that's fine. You want to go for a jog, you want to go for a walk, or you want to play something, you want to go for bike riding, that's also okay. Surya Namaskar, these are the poses I'm sure all of you know. Namaskarasan, Urdhva Hastasan, Hastapadasan or Uttanasan. Then Ashwa Sanchalan, then Phalakasan or the plank, then Ashtangasan or Sashtanga Namaskar, then Bhujangasan, Adho Mukha Svanasana, then another Ashwa Sanchalan, and again Uttanasan, Urdhva and then Namaskarasan. So these are the 12 steps we should do in our Surya Namaskar. We can do as many of these as we can every day. I try to do about 40 to 50 every morning. So it takes me about half an hour to do this. And then I do several asanas after that, just for body flexibility. Okay. Let's look at some real life experiences from some of my friends who converted to a mostly natural diet. So this is my friend Vinay Pai. By following natural diet and intermittent fasting, he lost weight, inches from waist, acidity, snoring, negativity, and finally his urge to consume alcohol. So initially when I talked to him, he says, Dr. Vikram, I have been drinking for the last 30 years. Every day I have to have at least 3 pegs. I said, okay, keep drinking until you feel you don't need to drink. Unless your inner voice tells you to quit, don't quit. But then one day, after about 3 months of following this diet, he himself felt like not drinking at all after that. Okay. His heart ailment was also reduced. Early 50s. All right. Another friend of mine, early 40s, Devangbai Karya, he was 104 kilograms. Just see before how heavy he was. Eventually, he became 73 kilograms in only 6 months. Again, through natural diet and intermittent fasting. He runs a marathon now. So his best, this was prepared, I think sometime last year he told me his story. In about an hour, he can run 10 kilometers. He runs marathons now. Another friend of mine, Bharat Bhai Kothari, he is in upstate New York, pre-diabetic and diabetic, early 60s. Okay, he was having medicine, metformin, for almost 5-6 years. His cholesterol was 200 to 215. He was taking rosuvastatin 2 to 3 times a week. He switched to a 90 to 95, 99% plant-based diet. Okay, a little bit of ghee or dairy he might be consuming, but mostly his diet was plant-based. And he started overnight fasting of 14 plus hours. He got rid of his medicines completely. In 18 months, his A1C went down to 6.0 and he has not had any medicine since then. For more than 18 months, he has been without medicine, cholesterol down to 180. He has lost 12 pounds. He is now about 149 pounds at height, 5'9". So he's slim and trim. BMI is 22.3 as Bharat Bhai Kothari. Now this is my own story. At age 56 in the year 2017, I was 80 kilograms, just like a sumo wrestler. But within 3 or 4 months, the weight went down to 68, 65. It is now 65. So it has been between 65 and 68 since then. All right. Post-meal blood sugar is less than 100. Cholesterol is less than 150. So that's how one can get completely transformed if you purify your diet. All right. Look at the flexibility, the strength, and the balance. This is what can happen even for somebody who is in their late 50s. So everybody who's younger than me in this audience, they don't have to get discouraged at all. If I can do this, I'm sure you can all do it. Then what happens if we live a life like this? Environment and society are also impacted beneficially. Fruits come from large fruit trees. They provide shade, they provide habitat for birds, and they help conserve groundwater. So that's what happens when we consume fruit, then farmers are incentivized to plant fruit trees. Fruit trees have very low carbon footprint. You see, the carbon footprint of meat-based diet is very high. Compared with that, if you cut down the meat, then it goes down. And if you cut down the cooked food, then it goes down to very small. Okay, so only carbon footprint in our case, if you eat only natural food, is the transportation energy that is spent in transporting the food from the farm to my table, isn't it? That's the only carbon footprint. Then the farmers can have long-term income for relatively low maintenance. Okay. So this is how the environment as well as the society is benefited. All right. So what's the next? To spread awareness of this entire thing, we have started an initiative called Sattva. So you are most welcome to go to sattva.life and see what we are doing. Okay. This is the number. You can send a WhatsApp message to this number and you'll get all kinds of information. Plus, if you go to the website, then on the website, you will see what we are doing. So we run an online program where we invite people to be with us on a journey for 90 days and their experience of life is completely transformed. So the people who come through the program, they are so joyful. Even within a week, in fact, this week, we have a participant in our program who joined us about 8 or 10 days ago, and she already lost 8 pounds. So she is in 7th heaven right now. Concluding remarks. Diet purification and regular yoga practice are crucial in maintaining lifelong health and fitness, a still, serene, peaceful, and blissful mind, peaceful society and environment, and yoga practice will result in an elimination of otherness. Only when there is an elimination of the sense of otherness will we become truly happy. See, we are unhappy or we are sorrowful because we have a desire in our mind. And desire in our mind is going to happen only if there is a sense of otherness and a sense of incompleteness. When that sense of otherness and incompleteness is completely eliminated from our mind, that's when we become supremely blissful and happy. So I wish and pray all of us will be able to realize this blissful, infinite, pure self in this body, in this lifetime. Thank you very much. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will be happy to take questions. If you ask one question at a time, that will be great. I will allow all of you to unmute yourselves if you feel like, but if you wait until your turn, that will be great. Bhikkhu Bhai has raised his hand, so I'm going to ask him to unmute himself and say something.
Yeah, my question is,
Huh.
so, when we talk about the raw food, some people say they have a allergy for the raw food. Particularly in Ayurveda, there is particular what peat or something they have, and that doesn't allow, or they restrict the taking of raw food, even though they want to eat.
Correct. You see, that's a good question, and I get this question quite a lot. Food has to be transformed by the principle of Agni. All right. So if there is not enough Agni within our own body, then we will have to supplement with outside Agni. So before we eat the food, we will have to treat that with Agni before we consume it. In that case, food will be digestible. Some food will be more digestible after we process it, but you have to eat it as soon as you process it. You cannot wait for too long. Otherwise, the food will lose its nutritional value and pranic value. So you have to eat cooked food as soon as you cook it. Then it's okay. You will end up eating more food, but it will be more easily digestible. That's not a problem. So Ayurveda does say that, but I will say you should do the experiment and then you will yourself realize how much cooked food or how much uncooked food you are able to digest properly. All right. So first rule you should follow is you should eat only when you're hungry. So experience hunger at least once a day. Okay. Then all of these rules will become apparent to you within your own experience. Promise. So by all means do that. All right. Jai Shri Rajguru wants to You're most welcome. Jayashree Rajguru wants to ask a question, so I'm going to ask her to unmute herself.
Thank you, Dr. Vikram, for the nice presentation. I have a quick question about the suggested diet and lifestyle in your presentation. Is it helpful for RA inflammation, like reducing RA inflammation?
In fact, natural food will help you reduce inflammation without any doubt. But you have to gauge and you have to find out how much your digestive fire is. Okay, that is precisely what we do in our program. We assess each person based on their ability to digest food, what they like, what they don't like, what their lifestyle is. All of those things we assess. And it's a personalized program. So each person gets a different kind of advice. It is not one size fits all. So I've given you only the general guidelines. All those guidelines will have to be tailored for you. Okay, so that's what we do as a part of our initiative. So if you feel that that will be beneficial for you, by all means, yes, inflammation will be reduced and your quality of life will be enhanced. The pictures I showed you were 3 or 4 years old, by the way. Okay. So now I don't look any different from what I used to look at that time. So I've maintained my weight during this time. Even during the pandemic, there is not much activity. We are not going out. I used to go to the gym at that time. I don't go to gym anymore. I just do yoga at home. I do Surya Namaskar at home. That's what I end up doing every day. And I maintain my diet discipline. Eat only twice a day. And most of my food is fruits and nuts. So that's what happens. So thank you very much for asking this question. This is wonderful. I'm going to ask V. Dharmaraj to unmute himself and ask your question. Dharma, please.
Thank you for your very good presentation. My one doubt is, actually last year I was around 62, 63 kgs. In 1 year
Okay.
I lost around 10 to 12 kgs. Doctor
Okay.
said all the tests were taken, nothing, physiologically nothing is there, but he said it is a rare kind of genetical disposition where the body loses weight. Instead of 70s, you are lost weight in 60s. So presently I am 61 running. So now with this, I'm already started your raw food regime. Now with this, whether any further loss is weight is expected or I will maintain this.
Okay. So if you maintain the discipline of eating only when you're hungry, it is possible that initially when you're eating only raw food, you may feel more hungry or you may feel like eating more times a day, which is fine. So what you should do, you should try to maintain the discipline that I shall not eat until I'm hungry.
Okay.
If you maintain this initial or fundamental discipline, then what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, that kind of discipline or that kind of awareness will come to you from within you.
Okay.
So don't worry too much about eating raw food or 100% raw food or whatever. That's not necessary.
Okay.
All right. Even if you eat cooked food, that's okay. Every now and then, even I will eat cooked food. No problem. So when there is a puja in the house, when there is a offering in the house, or even, everybody in the house will eat cooked food. There is some rice or some beans or some vegetables or whatever. So whatever is freshly cooked, sometimes I will eat. Not always. Sometimes I do eat, but I make sure that majority of my food is natural. Okay. And then I always make sure that I'm hungry every time I sit down to eat. So if I follow that rule, then nothing bad will ever happen to you. Okay. Wonderful. So Shrikant Dada, I think you wanted to ask, your hand has been up. So why don't you unmute yourself and ask the question, please?
So just, is there any kind of percentage of, how many, lentils, how many fruits and what percentage you should eat and nuts and so on?
Okay. So I would say majority of our food should be fresh fruits because that is the energy we need. Carbohydrates come from the fruits. So carbohydrates are the easy energy we get. So once we have got used to this whole natural diet routine, then right now, currently, I would say 80% of my food is actually fruits. And in the remaining 20%, then there will be some vegetables or some soaked nuts, some sprouts sometimes, or some cooked food sometimes. It's not that I don't eat cooked food at all. I will eat cooked food, but that percentage is very small. And on several days, I will eat only once a day. Okay, I'll skip out of 2, I'll skip 1 meal. So normally the maximum number of meals I end up eating every week is 14. All right. So a lot of times I will end up eating between 10 and 12 meals. So that's what happens naturally. So once we are used to this kind of discipline, then we know from within how much to eat, when to eat, what to eat. Those things will come. So there is no set percentage. As we get older, then our protein requirement is lower because we are not trying to build any muscle. All we are trying to do is to maintain our muscle loss or whatever. So for that, a very small amount of protein is required. So whatever we see in the scientific papers and all that, that we must eat 50 grams of protein or 60 grams of protein every day, that is not necessary for everybody. For us, we will know from within how much we need. All right, somebody is asking me, please let me know how to get a recorded version of this presentation. It will be available on my channel as well as on Shrikant Dada's channel. There will be a Shri Yoga YouTube channel. You can go take a look at that. So anybody else has any questions? I think there are 4 other hands. I'm going to ask Dhanesha to unmute, please. Go ahead, Dhanesha.
Yeah, so I know some people who like to eat old food, right?
Okay.
Something that has been sitting in the fridge for a while.
Uh-huh.
And they have such strong fire, the digestive fire, that they don't get impacted adversely, it seems. They can continue consuming that. And at times I've seen that they don't feel comfortable if they didn't eat something, old or like, so how, is that okay for them to continue doing that?
Okay, so ideally, we should not eat things that have been cooked earlier and kept in the fridge and then microwaved. That is something we should not do at all. If you have a microwave in the house, you can use it for heating the water. That water can be used for some other purpose, but not for drinking. You can keep the microwave, but in my case, we did not build the microwave in the house. Most of these modern houses, they have a microwave built into the kitchen. We don't have the microwave built into our kitchen. We use that space for storing something else. We have a microwave, but that is utilized for heating of the water because I want to use that water as a water bath for something else or something I'll do. I don't drink or eat anything that has been microwaved. All right. Microwave is not a good thing for us at all. Okay. So cooking food, keeping it in the fridge and then microwaving it and eating it is not good. All we are doing is processing a lot of material from the body and getting very little nutrition out of it. So we are very, very inefficient when we do that. All right. Now I'm telling you all of this from personal experience. So as I said, you don't have to believe any of these things I'm telling you, right? You should experiment with it yourself and see the difference. You will know from within what to do, what not to do. There are many hands. So I'm going to take questions for another 13 minutes because I have another meeting exactly on the hour. So hopefully I can take everybody's questions. So Amit Vadodkar is asking, can you unmute yourself, Amit?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. I think it's
I
Dilip
want-
Vadodkar, right?
I'm his son, actually.
Okay, Amit, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been in between 128 to 120 kgs to and fro. I just
Okay.
cannot seem to come down.
What we will do, you send me a message. Your father has my number. Send me a WhatsApp message. I need to talk to you separately because it will be a difficult thing to answer here. But I'll talk to you
Okay.
separately. Generally, maintain that one rule. I will not eat until I'm hungry. Just one rule. Do it for a week and see what happens. And then we will have another conversation. That will be great. But there are
Okay,
many
sounds
questions
good.
and many people are asking questions or have raised their hand. So let me take at least 7 or 8 more. Okay.
Sure.
So Lata Subraidu, you had a hand up or you had unmuted yourself quite a while ago. So Lata, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Lata Subraidu, are you still there? If Lata, you are not there, then I will have to ask somebody else. Prakash Ranade, can you unmute yourself, please, Prakash?
Yeah, thank you.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you,
please.
Vikram. I have a question regarding drinking water.
Yeah.
The doctor advised to drink 8 to 10 cups of water every day, while one of the point is to limit the drinking of water.
You should drink only when you are thirsty. If you drink more water than your body needs, then that rest of the water the body will have to throw away. So your kidneys will unnecessarily get overworked. There is no reason to do that. I will send you a video separately on the bad effects of drinking too much water. See, this 8 to 10 glasses of water people have recommended or doctors recommend because they think that all the toxins will get flushed out. Okay. But in this kind of diet regime, we are not eating any toxic material at all. And then all the natural water we get from the natural food that hydrates our body way better than the water we drink from outside. That's the kind of water we should be drinking. I think somebody is unmuted, so why don't you start talking? Lata, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you that is milk and milk products are to be totally avoided in this because we are so used to having milk and dahi.
Yeah,
So
that's
is
fine.
that
You
to be
can keep drinking.
avoided?
I'm sure you're from southern India, so we eat a lot of dahi. So you go ahead and eat dahi. That's not a problem. Dahi should be eaten during the day, not at night. Okay. And dairy is not a poison. Dairy can be had, in a month, in a total month, I may drink milk 2 or 3 times at the most. What I
Like I
do,
try to have haldi ka milk nowadays in the night.
yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. Haldi ka
That
milk is fine. I also drink haldi ka milk. Maybe once in 15 days or so, I will take 50% water, 50% milk. I'll boil the heck out of it. And then I add some turmeric, add some black pepper, cinnamon, these things I add, and I will drink milk also. Milk is
it
not a
can't be had
poison.
every day. It can't be had every day.
You feel like having every day, if you can digest it, if it does not give any mucus problems, by all means do it. What is there? We are used to drinking milk for the last many, many years. I'm not against this or that. I'm not against even non-vegetarian food. If you can eat non-vegetarian food, if you can digest it properly, if it doesn't create any problems for you, go ahead and eat. Ayurveda does not consider non-veg food as poison at all. Nothing is poison in this world, okay? Nothing is amrit either. Even if you eat the best kind of food, but if you eat it at the wrong time, if you eat it more than necessary, and if you eat it when you are not hungry, the best kind of food will become poison in your body. So poison is not food. Food is actually aushadhi. Food is medicine. So if we consider food as medicine and eat only, see, when we eat medicine, just because the medicine is good, we don't empty the entire bottle at once, no? We eat in doses. So that's how the food has to be treated. If we do like that, that will be great. So thank you, Lata Ben, for this wonderful question. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Rajani is asking a question. So Rajani, why don't you go ahead and ask your question, please?
As you say that is you are eating I eat also morning breakfast and then the lunch at about between the 2 to 5 anytime, and night sometimes I eat the fruit. Is it okay? And that milk also, healthy milk and fruit, any fruit, banana or whatever fruit is available in the house.
That is all okay. Just ask one question before you eat or drink anything. Before you eat anything, ask yourself the question, am I hungry? If I'm really hungry, I should eat. Just because it is time to eat, just because something tastes good, something I like, or somebody is insisting you should eat this, that is not a good reason to eat at all. The only reason, the only sufficient and necessary reason for us to eat is I'm hungry. If you can follow that one rule, then eating whatever you want to eat is okay. All right. So eat only when you're hungry. That one rule you follow for a week, then other rules you will understand from within, whatever I've told you so far.
Yeah, but then morning I feel so hungry if I don't eat at all.
No, it's okay. When you're hungry, you should eat. Ayurveda tells you that when you're hungry, you must eat. All right. So number one, I must not eat until I'm hungry, but I must eat when I'm hungry also. So you should not deprive yourself. Your body is telling you to eat. But I'll tell you something. If you have excess fat on your body and if you don't eat a meal, okay, because we have a tradition of upavas from, I don't know, thousands of years. Why is there a tradition of upavas? Because during the upavas, just imagine, you have children or grandchildren. If you don't feed your child, what will the child do? The child will go into the kitchen, open every cupboard, and whatever laddu or anything you have stored in the kitchen, he will eat. Why? Because you have not fed him. Our body does exactly the same thing. If you don't feed the body, then the body will go and try to find out whatever is stored in our body in the crevices and nooks and corners. That is when the toxic material, the dead cells or the cells that are going to die, they are metabolized and they are eaten. So it is called autophagy. Some Japanese scientist has got a Nobel Prize on this. We have known this for thousands of years. Our grandmother knew it and her grandmother knew it. Ekadashi and Chaturthi and all those things we have been doing, no? They have given it a scientific explanation of this and then they got a Nobel Prize. It's okay, no problem. We don't care about Nobel Prize. We care about our own health, right?
Yeah.
So if you follow that one rule, Rajni Ben, don't eat unless you're hungry, then you will be fine. All right. So I'm going to ask who else? Anjali is asking a question. Anjali, why don't you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, thank you very much. It
You're
was
most
an
welcome.
excellent presentation. I do follow all these rules. I never was overweight. That was my genetics, luckily. And my question to you is, my fear is always when people say raw sprouted beans, I'm afraid of not being able to digest them well. Is it okay to just take a one steam? And is it okay to eat onion and garlic? Because I would prefer eating garlic with it.
Okay, that's fine. So if that is what you prefer to eat, that's what you should eat. You should try to do an experiment by eating and not eating both and see how you feel from within. And then you decide. You don't have to believe me.
Correct.
All right.
Mhm.
And if you
Now
steam
my
it, that's also okay. In fact, you should not eat raw sprouts at night at all because they are difficult
correct,
to digest.
correct, correct.
So if
correct.
you want, and depending upon your age and depending upon the fire principle within your own body,
Mhm.
you should
I
decide that.
I have been following the 2 meals a day rule.
Yeah.
And also, I never ate food when I'm not hungry. So those are my rules have been. It just my
That is
fear
good.
was.
Then you don't really, I should be learning from you and not you should
No,
be
no,
learning
no.
from me.
And I'm so glad I have now your real, because last time you gave me the website, but I don't think I got anywhere
No
by
problem.
typing those. But I will keep in mind
If
looking
you
up
want to
for
come and
this.
do a consultation with us, by all means, do a consultation with us. If you want to stay with us and do the whole program for 90 days, within 90 days, we guarantee you that you will feel great. You will feel awesome.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
a
What do
journey.
I
We
will
don't
send
we don't
you.
sell anything. We don't give you any products. We don't give you any equipment. We don't give you any powders, no supplements, nothing. All right.
Okay.
So
I
come
will
and
get
join
the
us.
phone number. I will
Yeah,
get
it's
the
on the
phone number.
website. So go to sattva.life. You can sign up for a consultation. There is a free 15-minute consultation you can do.
Okay.
We will tell you about it.
Good.
Wonderful.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
You're
you
most
very
welcome.
much.
All right, then I think Shrikant Dada, you wanted to say something. You are unmuted.
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Vikram.
I'm going to take
and,
2 more questions because 2 people have raised their hands, Anagha and Krishna. So I'm going to ask Krishna to unmute. Krishna, why don't you go ahead, please?
Yeah, namaste. Thank you for a very good talk. I wanted to know, first of all, what inspired you? And secondly, they say in Ayurveda, I heard from many people, there's a relationship between your thoughts and the type of food that you eat. So I wanted some idea about that. And thirdly, in your spiritual practices, did you see any shift with change in diet?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. So what I would say is, very first slide, remember, why do we do all this? Because we always want to be happy, no? So everybody wants to be happy and we want to be happy for a long time also. We don't want to be unhappy at all. Nobody does anything to become deliberately unhappy, right?
Yes.
So when we are young, then we want to pass our exam. So we work hard and pass our exam because we want to be happy. Then we graduate, then we try to get a job because by getting a job, we will become happy. Then we have a job, then we feel like getting married. Why do people get married? Because they want to be happy. Whether they become happy or not, we don't know. Then if they are not happy, then they want to divorce. Why do they want to divorce? Because they want to be happy. The person who wants to go to the temple or the person who wants to go to the bar, the person who wants to go to the gym or the person who wants to go to the war, all of them are doing it because they want to be happy. So we don't need to seek our happiness outside. That happiness is our own essential nature. So that is what yoga will teach us, no? So when we do this whole exercise and try to go within, that's when we realize our own true essential blissful nature. So that's what we need. Krishna has raised her hand, or his hand, or I'm sorry, I'm talking to Krishna only. So what about Anagha? You want to unmute yourself, please?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Firstly, let me thank you for the clarity of your conviction and clarity of your presentation. Very, very useful.
Thank you.
And I'll try to follow some of your whatever recommendations.
Don't
Definitely.
do it blindly and don't do it suddenly. Huh? We should not go to a completely raw diet suddenly. Otherwise, your stomach will get upset and then you will
No,
blame me. So please don't do that.
No, I will not. I know. What I want to ask, I have a habit of drinking tea 5-6 cups a day for many years without sugar, but I do drink and very little milk without sugar. Now, how harmful it is for my health, and just some recommendation suggestions.
All right. So you see, we were not born drinking milk, right? So drinking tea, we inculcated this habit of drinking tea after we came into this world. That is not a natural thing, no?
Yeah.
So whatever is completely natural, whatever you can do without processing, that is called natural. So that is our ideal lifestyle. If we can live like this, then our spiritual sadhana will go where it needs to go. You cannot imagine where you can go. It is completely phenomenal. So you can only see how I look, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
How can you know how I feel from within? It's impossible. So I can only explain to you, how I feel from within, but until you experience that feeling within you, you will not truly understand. So to do that, I'm only giving you suggestions, these are the recommendations. So whatever comes from nature, if we can consume it without processing, that is the best for us. Okay. But we are used to drinking tea or drinking whatever else and eating all kinds of cooked food or processed food. So our system is used to that. To shift to a completely natural diet, just like switching the electricity button, that is not the way to do it. You have to ramp it up. So that's why we have this 90-day program. In the 90-day program, people will become completely used to this new lifestyle, and then they will maintain that lifestyle throughout their life. That is what will happen. So your experience of life will change, guaranteed, 100% guarantee. So that's what we guarantee to everybody who joins us. And if they follow this, as I told you in our current program, yesterday I spoke to one participant. In 8 days, this girl lost 8 pounds and she's on the 7th heaven right now. She's so happy. So I joked with her, next time you go to India, she's from Hyderabad, don't go near that Ramoji studio. Otherwise, some producer will call you and say, she's my next heroine. She started laughing. So people will feel good. I mean, this is not why we do this. Not because I want to look good or whatever. I'm not going to go become a hero in Hollywood or Bollywood. There is no reason. I want to feel good myself. I don't want to prove anything to anybody. I just want to be happy. That's all. So there are Pinkal Patel wants to ask something. So why don't you unmute yourself, Pinkal, please?
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, Anakatai. Bolu apan nantar.
Hi, thank you so much, sir. You gave us a lot of clarity on food and how food helps mind and body. Can you, I missed your milk part of somebody's question, and I wanted to get more clarity on it, because from India, we've been drinking lots of milk, and here I have few vegan friends, and they gave up dairy because of the cow torture and all that. But I don't know what is good at age of 45 compared to my son 18 and my parents 80. Everybody don't drink, and almond milk is better. I'm very confused about dairy products.
Understand. You see, this, whatever I have presented here is not a religion. Okay. So there are no dogmas. There are no strict rules of do's and don'ts. Those don'ts were suggestions and those do's were suggestions. You follow those don'ts and do's and see how you feel. Don't believe me, because right now I've told you a story. As long as you have not experienced it, that story is just that. It's a story. It's a nice story, but it's not your experience yet. So what I suggest is, if you are used to drinking milk, try giving up milk every alternate day. So today you drink milk, tomorrow you don't drink milk. See what happens. Try to reduce it. Milk is necessary for every mammal of its own mother up to a certain age. Only human beings will keep drinking milk of some other mammal. No need. So milk is not necessary. Although milk is not a poison. Everything in this world is medicine. Okay. If it is consumed in the right quantity. And everything, that same thing which we consider as medicine is actually poison if you overconsume it or you consume it at the wrong time. So, we may have in our medicine cabinet, there will be some paracetamol or acetaminophen or whatever. Do you drink it like food every day or do you eat it like food every day? No. You eat it only when it is required. So, the fundamental disease of this body is hunger. And the medicine for that disease called hunger is food. In the 15th chapter, Bhagavan says, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayukta Pacham Yannam Chaturvidham. That's what he says. Before that, he says, Gama Vishyacha Bhutani Pranaya Dharayamyaham Ojasa Pushnami Chaushadhi Sarva Somo Bhutva Rasatmaka. Which means, I have come on this earth as beings, as different life forms. And I sustain them by the ojas, which is the life-giving energy of the sun, through aushadhi. Through aushadhi means food. The rice and wheat and grains and vegetables and all those things, these are referred to by Bhagwan as aushadhi. Aushadhi means medicine. What is this medicine for? The medicine is for the disease called hunger. If we eat that medicine only to get rid of, or if we eat the medicine only to get rid of the disease, then to that extent, that food is actually a medicine. But in our case, what we do is we use that food as entertainment. So pratyahara means to consume only what is necessary and not consume anything more than necessary. That is called pratyahar. This is a very fundamental practice in yoga. So if you are in this yoga studio or if you are a part of this yoga group, then pratyahara is extremely important. Unless you do that, this yogasana and all that will not help you. See, if we want to clean our house and if we keep putting junk into it, then what will happen? You will perpetually be cleaning your house, isn't it? It will never get clean because on the one hand you are cleaning it, on the other hand you are putting junk into it. Is that the purpose of life? Is that the definition of karma yoga? There was a program going on in some city where they were going to plant some trees in the middle of the road, right? The road is on both sides, and then in the middle there is a central median, and they are going to plant some trees. So these municipal workers, there were 3 workers. All right. So one day one of them was on leave. So one person was digging the pit and another one was putting mud into it. And they were honestly doing it. So somebody asked them, what are you doing? He says, there are supposed to be 3 people. One person is supposed to dig, another person is supposed to plant, and the third person is supposed to cover it up. So this person who is planting, he is on leave. But we are doing our job sincerely. That is the kind of karma yoga we indulge ourselves in. That is not karma yoga. That is foolishness. So you need to understand what I have told you. You don't need to, get fixated on what I have told you. Understand the principle behind it. That would be important. I think I have already gone almost 10 minutes beyond time. So it's time to close. Shrikant Dada, I think we should close this up. Thank you very much for inviting me here once again.
Thank you very much, Vikram. It was just a wonderful session for everyone. And we'll again have a similar session again next time. So
absolutely. So whenever you feel like hearing some more stories, I'm happy to come and share stories from my life. If they are inspiring for you and for the group here, I'm delighted to come and share.
It's very inspiring. Thank you for your.
You are most welcome. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, people in Bharat. Have a good day, people who are here. Okay.